So in February 2009, moving along, the county completed step 1 of these ICLEI mandates, 5 of them. Step 1, and they published the County of Albemarle, Virginia Emissions Baseline Report for the year 2000. This document is available online. It's 57 pages long. The executive summary contains a supposedly scientific justification for the premise of a unique climate problem that is man-made and directly related to human use of fossil fuels and CO2 production. The UN's IPCC is invoked as authority, including its predictions of 1 to 4 degrees Celsius increase in global temperatures over the next 100 years. Sorry, folks, sorry. The fact is the IPCC does not issue climate predictions. They are very careful in their own literature to talk of scenarios, very clever terminology, because these are games, computer games based on multiple computer models. So they're not predicting, they're telling you what might happen if this would happen, if our models were correct, okay? The 2001, which is the third IPCC report, contains the explicit disclaimer on page 74. You can go look it up. It ends with, therefore, the long-term production of future climate states is not possible, right? Their authority for the county doing all this, the IPCC. IPCC in its own literature says, we cannot predict the future climate, period. It's a good scientist who wrote that section. This fact seems unrecognized by ICLEI, the county, and the authors of this baseline report. It is routinely ignored in climate activist literature. The 2000 IPCC report, which is the latest one of 2007, notes that their climate models may be wrong, and they don't know how badly wrong. Some of the stuff in there is quite honest. It doesn't, by the time it gets to an executive summary, the local newspaper picks it up, and the advocates quote this, the language changes dramatically. So the same 2009 baseline submission report notes in its executive summary that the baseline data here was, somebody didn't know that data is plural, so data were analyzed, using the clean air and climate protection software developed by ICLEI. So when you hire ICLEI, use their computer program, put 2 ICLEI members on the team, you get what? You get ICLEI results. There is a table in the report listing the 6 critical air pollutants, but no mention that the US EPA reports that emissions of these 6 pollutants have fallen over 50% since 1980. This ICLEI report correctly notes that water vapor is the most abundant and important greenhouse gas. They got that right. Because it is almost 90, but, they said in their report, but because it is almost 99% naturally occurring and cannot be controlled by greenhouse gas reduction measures, it is therefore, quote unquote, not assessed in the report. So in ICLEI's view of science, if the most important factor cannot be altered, just ignore it. Besides, governments have not yet figured out how to tax water vapor. It is easier to tax your electric bill. Just how important is water vapor? Well, it's estimated that water vapor in the form of clouds and rain accounts for about 95% of the so-called greenhouse gas effect. All of man-made CO2 is calculated as producing about 0.1% of the greenhouse gas effect, right? The rest is from natural causes. Think of that as we exhale water vapor and CO2 in this auditorium with each breath. So what about all these scary predictions of unique and disastrous sea level rise, temperature rise, increased illness, changes in rainfall patterns, notice the report? None of these extreme computer predictions has yet come to pass in the real world. They are guesses from computer models. And the problem is that there is no grand theory of climate. There's nothing to model. There is too much going on there. So you build a computer model, you're biting off a small piece of it and modeling it and say, see, but you're not seeing the whole picture. The knowledge does not yet exist to computer model all the relevant factors, their interactions, and their relative impacts over time. The UN uses over 20 different computer models and averages them and hopes the result comes out meaningful. I must tell you, a computer program is not reality, but a lot of people doing this stuff in universities and whatnot, I don't think look out the window. They have their computer, it says this, and that's what it is. All right. The IPCC itself has a real credibility problem because past climate-related statements have gotten sort of ahead of their own game, stuck their statements out there, which have been later debunked and then actually retracted. Some of them dealt with the glaciers melting in India, in Himalayas, and other activist sort of comments which were revealed as such as that. They were nothing. The IPCC is not a scientific research organization. It is a gatherer of information. It was founded on the idea that man is causing man-made CO2, is causing climate change. So they have sort of a dedicated concept which they tend to support. They're not out there to find, quote unquote, the scientific proof. Okay, let's meet the stakeholders. In the current context, these are the folks in organizations that may have a financial, intellectual, or emotional interest in your climate and behavioral future. Page 3 of this county emissions baseline reports 25 such individuals. 2 individuals are listed as ICLEI officials. Dominion Power has 2, American Electric Power has 1, representative from the oil company, and assortment of local government agencies. No board of supervisor member was listed, and there's no listing of somebody representing you, the taxpayer. The report speaks to emissions per county resident, including those unmentionable emissions of the cattle population. It is a bean counter's delight as it reduces emissions and consumptions to a per resident scale. The report concludes by noting that the next ICLEI step, number 3, is to establish a local action plan, which the county obligingly proceeds to do. I take a slight digression here, but it's part of the story. 2009, the county and city obtained an initial $500,000 grant from the Southeast Energy Efficiency Alliance to fund, develop, and implement a comprehensive community-based energy efficiency program. It would include financing of property energy retrofits, named the Local Energy Alliance Program, LEAP, and perhaps you understand why I'm reading this. After a while, you get your leaps, leads, and lacks and all mixed up because there are all these acronyms. There are no end to them. Anyway, the Local Energy Alliance Program, LEAP, is described as a community-based nonprofit, even though the original press release noted that the grant was awarded to the city and the county, making its legal status a bit murky, at least to me. Their website lists the Board of Supervisor member Ann Malik, Board of Supervisor at the time David Slutsky, and Charlottesville Mayor David Norris on their board of directors. The UVA Community Credit Unit participates by providing loans under its Green Sense lending program. LEAP also acts to get homeowners their share of taxpayer subsidies in the form of energy rebates, and is now headed by the former Charlottesville City Climate Protection Program Coordinator, which I must say the city had leaped from environmental protection to bigger things, and that is into climate protection. Anyway, she had left that position and now heads LEAP. To the extent that this is a voluntary program, cost-effective for those choosing to participate, and does not directly or indirectly add to the cost of county government policies or property taxes, there's little criticism other than the question, where does the money come from to pay all those free rebates? Hint, ultimately from your taxes and utility bills.